We will call this meeting to order. I'd like to welcome everybody to our November board meeting. Today is November 20th, 2025. It's now 10:04 a.m. We are in the fourth floor boardroom of the Central High School building in the Mississippi Department of Education. I would like to remind everybody to silence your cell phones, please, as well as to remind everyone that we are live streaming this meeting. We have several individuals that are attending by remotely. Ed, if each of you would tell me your location once I call your name. Ms. Warner. Thank you. Ms. Stroud.
Billie Jean Stroud, New Albany, Mississippi.
Thank you. And Crosby.
I'm at Gulfport High School.
All right, thank you. Now we will do our pledge and our invocation. Mr. East, if you'd lead us in the pledge, and Mr. Mayo, if you'd lead our invocation.
Please join me in the pledge. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Bow with me. Heavenly Father, we just thank you for the opportunity to come together. We ask that you bless the time that we sit and work to help the students and the state as a whole. We just ask for your wisdom and discernment. And thank you for all that we've been blessed with. Praise you in Jesus' name. Amen.
Thank you. Okay, we have two sets of minutes to approve, one from October 16th, 2025, our regular board meeting, and as well as our minutes from the November 14th, 2025 special call board meeting. Does anybody have any changes or corrections to those minutes? Hearing none, do I have a motion to approve both sets of minutes? Dr. Barrett, thank you. Do I have a second?
So moved, Mary Warner.
Ms. Warner, the second. All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
All right, any opposed? Next, with our agenda, do we have any additions or deletions to our agenda?
I move we approve the agenda as presented.
Second.
All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Are there any items on the consent agenda we need to move to pull out for discussion or move to the regular agenda? Okay. All right. Next, we have one recognition ceremony, the Grenada High School Navy Junior ROTC program.
Good morning, Mr. Miller, Dr. Evans, and state board members. It is my honor to present the board recognition for the month of November. We are recognizing Grenada High School Navy JROTC program as a distinguished unit with academic honors for the 24-25 school year. At this time, I would like to invite Grenada High School's Senior Naval Science Instructor, Colonel Marvin Reed, Naval Science Instructor Chief Nutorian Foreman, Academic Officer Cole Searle, and their cadets to join Mr. Miller and Dr. Evans at the front of the boardroom. So if you all may step up.
I just did. I'm not paying attention. Church, stand up. Join the front. Process all that.
Okay, yeah. Yep. All right. Okay. The Navy JROTC Distinguished Unit with Academic Honors is a high-level award given to the top 30% of units nationwide that show outstanding performance in both academics and extracurricular activities. The award considers a wide range of factors, including the academic performance of cadets, the unit's success in competitions, including drill meets and academic competitions, community service hours and school support activities, the professionalism and support of the naval science instructors, and overall cadet discipline and appearance. The Distinguished Unit with Academic Honors Award earns the cadets a ribbon and allows the unit to nominate cadets for U.S. service academies. In addition, cadets who enlist after graduation may be eligible for advanced promotion in the Navy or Air Force after 3 years in JROTC. This is the first time the Grenada High School Navy JROTC program has earned the Distinguished Unit with Academic Honors Award. In addition to this recognition, the unit recently won 2 major competitions. At the regional level, the unit was crowned the Southeast Regional Champion at the Spring 2025 REC Foundation Aerial Drone Championship. This is an annual event for middle and high school students from an 8-state region. Teams compete in different missions, including teamwork, autonomous flight, piloting skills, and communication. And at the state level, the Grenada High School cadets were named the Mississippi champions for the National Cyber Patriot Competition for the 5th year in a row. The competition requires teams to find and fix cybersecurity vulnerabilities in virtual systems. While state champions advance to national semifinals, the state championship itself is a significant achievement, and the process provides students with skills for future careers in cybersecurity. Congratulations to all the cadets and instructors in the Grenada High School Navy JROTC program for your outstanding accomplishments. And Chief Foreman and anyone else, you're welcome to make remarks at this time.
I just want to say thank you all for allowing us to be here and sharing our recognition. This is our first time in the 32-year history of the unit that we have earned this award, and hopefully it won't be the last time.
All right, thank you. Thank you for being here.
Go Navy.
Next up is our report from the superintendent. Dr. Evans?
All right, thank you, sir. Like every month, it's been a very busy month and things that pop up that we really didn't see in advance, and this first thing is one of them. We did have some knowledge that we knew they were doing restructuring, but we didn't know that it would be this much of a change. I don't really think it'll impact us that much, but USDE did notify us of some changes that they made earlier this week. We notified superintendents about the actions of USDE to transfer the management of several of its programs to other federal agencies. These transfers include the majority of the Office of Elementary and Secondary Education Programs to 4 other federal agencies, those being the Department of Labor, Health, Human Services, and the Department of Interior, and the State Department. The U.S. Department of Ed has confirmed that the statutorial responsibilities for these programs will remain within its agency. I think that was important that they did that because they had to, it takes action to dissolve USDE legislative action. So they are still, those responsibilities do still reside there. We immediately, upon their response, I believe they put that out at around 2 o'clock, and we, by 3 o'clock, had sent out some information to our superintendents and the state as well. Basically, in that, we were assuring our district leaders that the core mission, our core mission, has remained unchanged, and that is to ensure success, ensure the success of our students, and take care of all of our educators across the state. And obviously, we'll continue to monitor the activity in these departments and work closely with our federal partners. One of the things that I would ask is during this time, if there's frustration on the part of some of our districts, we express the same frustration. And as soon as one of the things that we operate, one of our guiding principles is as soon as we know what's going on, we make sure you know, and we typically do it in the form of doing a Teams meeting immediately. We've done a lot of that with federal programs, it seems like. Dr. Nelson, in the last couple months, because of some of the challenges that you and your team, I appreciate your navigating and helping bring our state through. So just bear with us, because it's, we're not withholding information, I promise you. As soon as we get it to you. So we're going on this expedition with you. All right, from a strategic plan standpoint, I think it was around 10 or 11 o'clock on Wednesday night, I believe, I sent each of our board members some information on our strategic plan. But our ELT members, as well as myself, held a work session with student education to prioritize the strategic plan goals and review input from each of the focus groups, which they were very well attended. I was very pleased with how that turned out. We have provided, like I said, you an executive summary of the focus group activities. The goal there, the next steps are to finalize strategic goals for the state based on that feedback and your feedback as a board. I think, and I'm sure you've already read it, but if you haven't, when you have a moment to read it, you'll see some of those goals start coming out. It's very obvious what some of those goals need to be from the stakeholder feedback. I think that's why I think it was very successful in gaining the information we need to move forward as a state. We'll reserve some time during the board training next month in December with NASB, that training that we have already set a date for, to get some feedback from you, because it is very important that you weigh in and provide your feedback on goal setting and what have you moving forward. There and that will get us to the point to where in January, hopefully the end of December, beginning of January, for sure the beginning of January, to have the actual core of the plan created. And then step 2 of that will be the creation of a report card, so that we can be very transparent to the state as a whole as to where we are as an agency. That report card is to hold us as an agency responsible, to show that we are actually doing the things that, that Mississippi has asked us to do for public ed to move our state forward. That'll be interesting. All right, so from a legislative and stakeholder meeting standpoint, met with Senator Rod Hickman, Ms. Holly and I, Ms. Spivey and I did. And basically what we were doing was discussing the support that MDE is providing to Noxubee County. As we do know, they're under the purview of the State Board and MDE. We had our first Principal Advisory Council meeting of the year here at MDE. The topics there were to share updates on MAP achievement, as well as school and district performance, and any of those proposed changes to the standards for accountability, which I also sent all of you. You already had it in your board support packet, your board materials, but I sent it individually again because I wanted you to have the opportunity to read through, and I put some little points in there so that you could see those in case during the meeting, if you had any additional questions once you got to the meeting. So let's see here. We also had a technical advisory committee meeting. MDE's technical advisory committee held a 2-day meeting about a number of topics, including the administration of the 2025-2026 assessments, data analysis, as well as the accountability system. I did go visit William Carey University. Was very impressed there. Did not realize that their student enrollment is now over 6,000 students. That was very, very impressive. Been through the campus several times, but Dr. Burnett was very kind, and I rode around for about an hour and a half with him on the golf cart and toured the campus. And I want to say one thing that I feel needs to be said publicly. I was amazed that as the president of that university, how many students came up to him and knew him on a first name basis. That was very obvious. And I will say he came from the K-12 world into that role. So that's a pat on the back to the K-12 world, and it just helps create a better vision for those relationships. But it was amazing. I don't know that there was a kid there that didn't know his name. And he knew most all there. I never heard him not call a name. So it was a very strong family atmosphere. I wanted to say that out loud because I was very impressed with that. Conferences, MECC attended that. It was here in Jackson. Of course, that's the Mississippi Council for Economics and Education. Spoke on a panel there, and we know they work to enhance economic and financial literacy throughout Mississippi by equipping K-12 educators with resources and training. CCSSO had their annual policy forum, as well as Excel and Ed, their National Summit on Education. So we participated as an agency in both of those. From a district support standpoint, we have been supporting the newly appointed interim superintendent of Holmes County Consolidated District. That's going well. Have been very, very positive. Moving forward, haven't really had any bumps in the road to speak of. So been very, very pleased with that. As you all know as a board, but I'm sure the general public knows as well because of the reporting piece, we did take over Okolona separate school district, put them in a district of transformation. Mr. John Farrell, we had to turn that around pretty fast, and in about 10 minutes, John Farrell went from knowing it was happening to knowing that, hey man, I need you to be the interim superintendent there. So I appreciate his doing that, we have identified some areas in which we can strengthen already to help get that district back where they need to be. So I want to publicly say I appreciate him being there and the work he's doing. Clarksdale Municipal School District, several MDE leaders as well as myself conducted an on-site visit in Clarksdale Municipal School District to begin their process of the district's implementation on an 18-month plan to address their history of failing academic performances. They were an F district this year, and we're trying to make sure that they're not 2 years in a row. That's the goal. It's our expectations that they aren't, and we'll have to move forward accordingly if they meet that qualification. So they understand that we're all on the same page there, if you know where I'm coming from. So do feel as though they are committed to doing the things they need to do to move their district forward academically. I think their leadership understands the plan. They had a good plan. We appreciate their plan, and there's been lots of correspondence in between their school district and MDE. It's very positive because the goal of that meeting is to be a very positive meeting. You know, it's a work together, not an adversarial type situation. So we appreciate their support there. Media interviews, did meet with MPB about the work we've done in Okolona, and had a literacy interview from Oklahoma City news outlet. It amazes me how many states now have billboards up saying basically what they're doing is it's almost like I would say a shaming of their states and some of their academic performances, and it's Be Like Mississippi type campaign. So honestly, that's what it is. That is 100% what it is. So I look at that as a compliment, but I will tell you, I also look at that as a challenge for us to continue to run ahead. I always say it's like the cheetah and the gazelle, right? So we want to always help our fellow states, but we don't want to help them enough that they achieve above us. So that's that local district person, that superintendent's mindset there. All right. Getting close to the end here. So I did have the opportunity for the second year, I'll say honor of helping present the Milken Educator Award. It went to a teacher at Mansdale Upper Elementary School. She's a third grade teacher. Her name is Kayla Saxton. And, that is a $25,000 award that's to be used however they want. It doesn't have to just be used in their classroom, which makes it very unique. And, her response it filled my heart because she had no clue. They never do, right? Because it's like so secretive. And I didn't know who she was, but I knew the general area she was in. So when that was announced, it just filled your heart, her response. So it was very, very, very deserving. So I appreciate her and the Madison County School District for having her employed there. And Mr. Chairman, that's all I have.
Anyone have any questions for Dr. Evans? This month, I had two things to report on. First, I had the opportunity to attend the MASA conference on October 28th. I know Mr. Jacobs and Mr. Mayo was there. I went to two sessions, the general session and then a separate breakout session where Chris Chisholm, who is the superintendent of Pearl, presented on AI. I was aware of AI. I use it a little bit in my law practice, correctly, not like you see on TV with all these people who got in trouble. But my takeaway from that is that if we are not embracing AI as both a tool to educate students as well as to allow educators to succeed, we're going to be left behind. And it's going to be fast, quick, and in a hurry. So that's something we are going to have to embrace. We're going to have to tackle. We can't run away from it because it's here and it's not going anywhere. So that's just something I think there's some things us as a board need to do to help address, to give the district some guidance of how to do it. But it's here, and just like Dr. Evans said, we need to be front runners on this. Ms. Chisholm is a front runner on this. I can tell you that from seeing him present as well as talking with him afterward. He's all over the country talking about this, and he's fully immersed in it, so we need to embrace that. Second thing is I had the opportunity on Tuesday to attend a presentation by the University of Southern Mississippi with their MCARE teacher apprenticeship and residency program. They hosted representatives from I think it was 8 to 10 different states who are interested in learning how they are developing their program. They have data on this. It's so far very successful, taking teachers and put them in the residency program, as well as taking assistants who are already in school districts and helping them move to the teacher level. I had the opportunity afterward to visit with their leadership as well as Dr. Paul and Representative McCarty about things to move forward. I think they've got some great ideas that can be expanded statewide to help those programs. But that was very well, and the attendees as well from the other states were just like Dr. Evans said about Oklahoma and Mississippi. They were very impressed of what Mississippi's doing on that front. So with that, I'll shut up and move on to one of our better parts of our meeting with the reports from our student representatives. Crosby, you're up first.
Thank you, Mr. Miller. Good morning. As a senior in the midst of college application processes, I've seen firsthand how essential strong guidance counseling is in student success. For many students, to pass a higher education is exciting, but it's also complicated, emotionally demanding, and often a little bit overwhelming. Between managing academics, extracurriculars, leadership responsibilities, and scholarship requirements, students need consistent, informed, and personal support, and guidance counselors are the people that make that possible. College and scholarship applications require students to navigate complex timelines, understand admissions criteria, complete financial aid forms, and make decisions that will help shape the next stage of their lives. Counselors help students break this process into manageable steps. They answer questions that students may be afraid to ask, they advocate for them to the other schools, and they provide the encouragement that the student needs to keep moving forward. For students who may not have the support at home or who are among the first in their families to consider college, counselors are often the difference between opportunity and no chance at all. This year, I have been incredibly grateful for the guidance and reassurance that my counselors have provided. When deadlines stack up or responsibilities become heavy, having someone who knows the process, cares about students' goals, and is committed to their success makes a tremendous impact, not just academically, but emotionally as well. And I know my experience is not unique. Seniors from across the districts depend on their counselors to help them reach their full potential. For this reason, it's important for districts to continue to invest in strong counseling programs, maintaining reasonable counselor-to-student ratios, providing counselors with the tools and training that they need, and recognizing the time-intensive work they do during peak application season. When counselors are supported, students are supported. And when students are supported, the entire district benefits. Our counselors' dedication ensures that students can confidently take their next steps, no matter when those steps lead. Thank you.
Thank you, Crosby. Next, we will hear from our junior representative, Michelle, which I gave a pretty good intro about AI to what you're presenting today.
Good morning, everyone. everyone. It's so nice to be back and join you all at today's meeting. Unfortunately, I had to miss out on last meeting because I was taking the PSAT, but I'm super excited to share some of my thoughts on AI today. So last month, I attended my first Student Advisory Council meeting, and it was truly such a wonderful experience. I participated in the artificial intelligence group, and we had very interesting discussions because almost everyone had a different opinion on AI. So we talked about how it could be helpful for learning, but then it can also create challenges if schools don't have clear guidelines or ways to teach students how to use it responsibly. So right now, AI tools like ChatGPT and other programs are becoming a normal part of school life. I know that a lot of students are using it to brainstorm ideas, check grammar, or study for tests. And I know that some teachers are also using AI to save time when creating lesson plans. And while using AI can come with benefits, I think that it is also extremely easy to misuse it because some students just use it to complete assignments completely for them, and I think that takes away from the real learning aspect of it. And also, many students don't know how AI works or what the limits are because it can give very wrong information or sound convincing even when it's inaccurate. And I can personally attest from that because I use ChatGPT to give me like a list of the current U.S. Leaders, and it gave me people whose terms had already ended. So that's definitely an issue. And even though it's easy to focus on these problems, I think that it's important to admit that it's not really possible to completely get rid of the harms of AI. The technology is advancing way too fast for schools to keep up, and new tools are being developed all the time, and each one comes with new benefits and new risks. So I think that instead of trying to completely stop these problems, we should focus on helping students and teachers understand how to use AI responsibly. So I think that we should maybe include AI education in CCR classes since those classes are already preparing students for the future. I think that they're the perfect place to teach what AI is, how it works, and how to use it in a smart, ethical way. AI is advancing faster than any other technology that we've seen in education, and schools can't just completely ban it. So I think that the best thing we can do is to prepare students to face it with understanding and responsibility. And I did some research, and I found out that the Connecticut State Board of Education launched the Artificial Intelligence Pilot Program and set the national standard with digital citizenship curricula. So this curriculum offers resources that promote digital ethics, online safety, and responsible technology use. And it also introduces AI ethics and responsible use. And a key component of that program is teaching digital citizenship to help students put a strong foundation for using AI responsibly. So I think that by adding AI education into our curriculum or maybe CCR classes, we can ensure that every student learns how to use it safely. Thank you.
Thank you.
Coming into.
Can I just say something more about?
Yes.
I think that topic is so relevant, and again, you mentioned it too, and I'll echo Chris Chisholm. I mean, we are fortunate in Mississippi. We have one of the, quite frankly, nationwide leading experts in AI, and not how it just affects education, but in other things as well. And one thing I heard very clearly in that conversation was they want some guidance on when it's permissible, but they also don't want so much guidance they can't be creative in how to use it. And so, but again, if there's a district that's not sure what to do or how to move forward or where to start, Chris Chisholm's been incredibly gracious with his time, and I'm sure he'd be willing to reach out and have a conversation with the district. But it's worth every bit of time you can spare to sit down with him and get an idea, because really what's possible, what people think is possible is really the only limiting thing that's happening right now.
I want to add to that because I've seen Chris 2 times now, and it's incredible what he comes up with or what his message. But there's a lot of fear out there about AI, and I think we can't be fearful of it. We have to adopt it and take it to the next step, because fear is fear itself. So it's a good thing. It's got good and it's got bad, but we need to jump in front of it.
And it's here, so we're going to have to figure out how to live with it.
Absolutely.
If I could add one thing, we'll bring update to you. We've got an AI pilot that we're running with schools and districts and in ELA and math, social studies and science that we're to a point where we want to bring an update to you in Mr. Craman's shop. We have several schools and districts that are participating in, and it's in partnership with some tech companies, and it revolved, our goal for that was for it to be tailored to actual instruction in the classroom. What does the teacher need to know? So we'll bring you an update on that next month.
We have an AI program that's just to use in the schools, like educational AI. And when you teach the students how to use it, they almost think they're like getting to cheat a little bit. But, you can't copy paste, but it can help you. I teach English, so, it can help you like come come up with your outline and what you're planning. And so they think they're getting a step above, like, oh, we're getting to do this.
Well, it gets you started,
But it gets you started and teaching them to use it correctly as a tool and not a copy paste. And it is a great resource for them.
And the reality is in industry, I use it every single day. So it's a pretty critical skill, employability skill. So I think
Right.
it makes a lot of sense to let kids, students, be able to learn how to do it and do it well, because there is a skill set that goes with that.
Thank you all for all that. Okay, next on our agenda is, we had several subcommittees that met since our last meeting. First one was the academic achievement, Mr. East.
The longest name, what I think in the whole.
Yeah, I know, I shortened that.
That team met yesterday via Teams meeting. There were two very well-done reports that have been released, and we discussed them. One was a chronic absentee report for the school year of 2024, 2025, and the other was the Literacy-Based Promotion Act Annual Report of Performance and Student Retention. The staff of MDE is currently analyzing the chronic absentee data to see what changes could be made. I think there was the biggest concern is, are we coding it right as we go through each bookkeeper, and then also training to help with those issues. They also are looking at proposals to address the chronic absenteeism and are working on some technical amendments for the upcoming legislative session. The third grade reading assessment for promotion has an 84.6 pass rate after the retesters were figured into the 2024-25 school year. So two pieces of information that we will take and grow from as we move forward. Thank you, Donna, for my notes.
Okay, the Internal Accountability Subcommittee, Mr. Mayo.
Yeah, we met this morning and really focused on try to get a new internal audit charter hammered out, clearly defining responsibilities, and we've approved that at subcommittee level, and we'll present, have on the board agenda for next month for approval, as well as looked at operations manual and how to go forward for them to work through that. There are also a couple of rules, policies that we've begun to discuss. We did not finish, so we will eventually have to revisit at least two of those three, but and bring that back at a future date. Good conversation to move that initiative forward.
Very good, thank you. There was one other subcommittee that met. It's the newly formed State School Subcommittee. Myself, Mr. Jacobs, and Mr. Pruitt, who chairs it. This is the subcommittee that is helping fill the gap between the board and our state schools, as well as the districts of transformation. This was more of an organizational meeting where we talked about what do we want to do and what do we want to accomplish with this. We have another meeting planned, I think, in 2 or 3 weeks to continue that process to help form and figure out what the subcommittee's role is going to be in this process. Okay, now to our agenda items. First up is a report on the Mississippi Academic Assessment Program, Achievement Gap Results.
Good morning. This is an annual item that is provided, informational item that is provided to the board based on our MAP results every year. And what the Office of School District and Performance does is calculate and produce this report that shows the achievement gap based on the subgroups outlined in the Every Student Succeeds Act. So at this time, Alan will walk us through the report, and you have the backup material that is numerous pages that outlines those.
All right, good morning. So the gap analysis, as Dr. Vanderford mentioned, is an annual report. We've been doing it for several years now, just to ensure that we're reporting on subgroups, subgroup performance, and working to achieve the vision and mission and state board strategies that we have to ensure that all students are making progress and are successful. So this gap analysis is a comparison of 24 to 25 student assessment data in ELA and math, 3 through 8 and high school. And for end-of-course assessments, the analysis only includes the first attempt. So this is just a little chart to show the methodology. Basically what I've already stated, that we use the first attempt, we apply the proficiency rates to the subgroups, and we report or compute and report the gap in performance among the subgroups relative to a reference group. And this table shows the different subgroups that we consider in the gap analysis. The ones with the red check marks are the reference groups. So when you see the gaps, you'll know that that's relative to those reference groups. And this all ties into our overall long-term goals for the state that are outlined in ESSA. And that is that all students and student subgroups will reach a 70% proficiency in all assessed subject areas by 2027. So we report a gap to state goal. So that is the difference in proficiency by subgroups relative to the 70% goal. So I will run through these fairly quickly, but we'll do a math and ELA. I will point out, and I do pretty much every year that we do this report, that we have to take into consideration when we have a change in gap, whether or not the reference group performance has changed from one year to the next. So for example, here we see that there's a reduction in the gap among Black and African American subgroup relative to the reference group, which would be white students. But I'll note that we did see a decrease in proficiency in our reference group this year. So just when you see these, you need to consider that those other things are in play. So in general here, we don't see a big change in the gaps, some improvement in limited English proficiency, and then a Native American Pacific Islander group is a small subgroup for our state. Pretty consistent with English language arts, although we show a significant increase in the gap for 2 or more races. This is our gap to goal for mathematics. So our our difference in proficiency rates for all students, for example, in 2025 was 17.6 percentage points below our goal, which is 70% proficient. And we see some increases in those gaps to goal, which is consistent with what we saw in our assessment results earlier that showed some decline in proficiency rates. This is a continuation of math gap to goal for additional subgroups, small increases in the gap from the 70% goal. And then this is the English language arts gap to goal. So here we've seen some slight improvement towards proficiency in ELA. But again, generally overall, not large change. And then for the remainder subgroups, again, not a significant change in our gap to goal. As also part of the gap analysis, we produce what we call a heat map, and it looks at subgroup performance differences in ELA and math at the district level, and creates a color codes, a heat map of subgroups that reflect kind of where they are as far as the intensity of the gap. So these color codes align with green being no gap or the subgroup is higher than the reference group, all the way up to red where we have indications of a large gap in student performance among subgroups. And this is just an example of, I think what's in the backup, it was over 100 pages. So you have a kind of a heat map for each district. Where you see blanks would be where we don't have a particular subgroup represented, or we don't have a reference group. And then we do this at the aggregate level for the state. So this shows our gap in proficiency among subgroups, and again with the color coding. So we have challenges with Black African American subgroup, economically disadvantaged, and students with disabilities. And that will be consistent from English language arts to math. So again, this is a district level report example, different from the heat map, but provides a breakdown of each subgroup in each district, their comparison in performance from last year, and their gap, and whether or not the gap increased or declined for the district. Hey, do I have any questions regarding our gap analysis report?
This,
What's the definition of economically disadvantaged? How do we determine?
That is based on whether students receive free and reduced lunch.
And I will say, when I was looking through this, certainly there's some race and ethnicity gaps, but the difference is between, when you look at the economic disadvantage versus the non, that to me looks to be the biggest gap. Which I thought was pretty telling for how big of a gap that really was based on the economic status of the family unit, the area, wherever it may be. What we do about it? I mean, if your gap to goal didn't change much and didn't improve, and you got 2 more years to get there, what do we do with this now that we have it, and how do we try to address it?
If you don't mind, just a couple of thoughts and things that are currently happening there is typically a correlation between to your point you were making, the specific districts that are making up the lion's share of these percentages. So it's that increased support that the department puts into the literacy coaches. It's also, we have, some of our largest gaps look at, grade ELA specifically in grades 4 through 8, which we're putting the adolescent, or we're working to put, as long as we get the appropriation, which we feel good about, adolescent literacy piece into play, the expansion of a math piece into play, grades 2 through 6. That's two areas. Another area that we really are addressing, like strongly, and have been doing this for a number of years, is also a lot of this can be contributed back to, you don't have certified teachers in some of these classes, and there is a correlation lots of times between some of our struggling economic areas and the areas that have the highest numbers of economically disadvantaged students. So some of the ways we've addressed that is with the synchronous learning piece, the REACH program. And so there's multiple ways that we are pushing to try to provide support. But it's one of those things to where, just like it took 10 years, for us to get where we are with the marathon piece with literacy. I mean, it's a marathon type deal. But just if that somewhat addresses some of your questions. Yes, sir.
under disability.
Like has no chance of getting there, do you almost give up? I mean, the goals are such for some districts, and I know we want to set a high standard, but you also want to set something achievable. In some of these districts, the trend is not, I bet they feel like they don't have a chance and they're really deflated by it.
Well, it's just comparing them to their peers. So, as far as they should not have that attitude, but I can see where some might. Yes, sir.
I can see under disability students, big gap. does that include dyslexic students, or are they somewhere else?
That's all,
Yeah, we'd include all.
all students with an
has
IEP. All students with an IEP. Yes, sir. But there's a multitude, we know, of disabilities that fall into that.
Any other questions or comments? Thank y'all for that report. Next item is an information item on the spring 2025 ACT results.
Again, this is another annual item. As you all know, beginning in August, we just inundate you from all through the fall, beginning with our MAP results. So this is a report of our juniors that took the ACT in the spring of 2025.
Okay. All right, so I'll talk a little bit, just the background information on ACT. Most people are familiar with ACT, but just in case. It is an on-demand assessment that is based on what students learn in high school and provides personalized information about strengths for education and career planning. It's designed as a predictive measure of college readiness, not as a content performance measure. And it is, there are benchmarks that are established empirically based on how students perform in college and try to indicate what measures would indicate success in post-secondary studies. And here are those benchmarks. The scale score on the ACT ranges from a 1 to a 36, and then there's a composite score that is calculated based on the average of the 4 components that you see here, with benchmark of 18 in English composition, 22 in college algebra and social studies, and a 23 in biology. And I will note also that ACT is making some changes that will remove science from the calculation of a composite score in what they're calling their new enhanced ACT, which is a shortened form of the ACT. We will continue to administer science under the state contract that all juniors take in their junior year. So we'll step first through what I mentioned, the state administration, which is the 11th grade census testing of the ACT. And this table just kind of shows some trend data on the number of students tested each year and the average ACT scores for each component in the composite. So we did see a small uptick in the composite from 17.4 to 17.5 this year. But you'll see over the past 4 years, we've kind of flopped back and forth there. So not sure that is a meaningful change. Could just be part of the variation from year to year. But we did see increase in the component score for English, mathematics, slight decline in reading, and no change in science. And then this shows benchmark attainment for this group of students. So percent of students meeting the benchmark on each of those areas, and all the way over to the right shows the count of students or percentage of students that meet all 4 ACT benchmark scores. So slight uptick this year. And then this breaks down the 11th grade tested students by race. We see the count here and the average composite score by race. It's just some key findings. We had a slight decrease in the number of 11th graders that were assessed in 2025. Composite scores of all racial subgroups, except for Pacific Islander and 2 or more races, showed improvement from 2024. Students do provide information on the assessment around their course taking patterns, and those that obtain higher composite scores are usually indicate those with a more rigorous course-taking pattern have higher scores. 56 districts showed some increase in score. 79 districts showed some decrease in score. and 7 showed no change or did not have a prior year composite score average. And now we'll just talk about the graduating class of 2025 for Mississippi. So this is at the end of the senior year. ACT reports out this data annually, both on a national level and the state level. This table shows the public and private combined results for Mississippi for the graduating class of 2025. And you'll see that we had a slight increase in the number of students tested in Mississippi. Composite score remains unchanged at 17.7. And then this one shows the public-only results for this graduating class of 2025. So while our junior class had a slight uptick in composite average, the graduating class of 2025 had a slight downtick from 17.5 to 17.4. And then again, we have tables showing the percent of students reaching the benchmark in each component. This is public and private. So at the state level for public and private, about 10% of students meet all 4 ACT benchmarks. And then for public-only students, we see similar patterns here, just a slight decrease in those percentages. And then this is just a comparison across states that give the ACT to 90% or more of their students in the state. So also, ACT will refer to these as census states. And you can see where Mississippi is in that grouping of states, unchanged from last year, 4th. Do we have any questions about the ACT results?
Thank y'all for that report. All right. Our next item is another information item, which is the fall 2025 kindergarten readiness assessment results.
And this will wrap up our reports of those assessment results. So this is a joint item between the Office of Accountability and the Office of Academic Education. So you have in your backup material the kindergarten readiness assessment update. So this is the kindergarten readiness assessment is a requirement of the Literacy-Based Promotion Act. And if you'll recall, we had a break in service from Renaissance Learning, who administered it for 11 years or so. We had a vendor in between for 1 year, at which time we raised the standard. And so we're currently on an emergency contract with Renaissance, and so we've had to do some work with our technical advisory committee. Renaissance has made some changes in their scales. We had an increase in standards, so we wanted to work really closely with TAC to ensure that we maintain those standards. So there's going to be some break-in comparability here, but as Melissa walks through these results, she will explain that to you, and then we'll turn it over to the academic office to talk about next steps.
Good morning. So to level the playing field for all districts, we're focusing on the percentile rank of 56 since scale scores change depending on the month that students test. In the fall of 25, our ELCs served 6,621 students, and of those students, 30.52% of them scored at or above the 56 percentile. The state-invested pre-K served 1,913 students, and 26.87% of those students scored at or above that 56 percentile. And then the other funded pre-K, which I want to remind everyone is a variety of Title I pre-K, self-contained special education pre-K, and then other types of district setups in their pre-K programs. But they serve 3,224 students, and 26.15 of those students scored at or above that 56 percentile. So for pre-K, the 56 percentile falls in the early emergent reader category for the beginning of the year. And then for kindergarten, we had 31,602 students that were enrolled in kindergarten, and 37.07% of those students scored at that 56th percentile. And for kindergarten, the 56th percentile for beginning year falls in the late emergent reader category.
Okay, so for the Office of Academic Education, we want to talk a little bit about next steps and how we're going to continue the work that we've done. The first thing, Mississippi's early literacy work is rooted in a clear belief that strong readers are built early and built with intention. So one of the things that we've done here in the last, I guess, 6 months, I've been 6 months in this role, is we are working diligently to create coherence, build coherence here at the department, specifically in the Office of Early Childhood, in the Division of K-3 Literacy, and in the Office of Special Education. I laugh all the time and say my directors in those 3 offices, I've tied a rope around their waist and they function as one. And so it's important we send that message to our school districts, but sometimes we don't share that at the state level. And so we're trying to send that message to our districts by doing the same. And of course, all of our pre-K through 3rd grade instruction is linked to the science of reading, specifically print knowledge, phonological awareness, vocabulary, oral language, which is essential skills for long-term reading success. We have really worked on targeted training for teachers. We have been working on targeted training for teachers for many years, and then realized we are not training our administrators in a way that they can support teachers after we train them. So we have brought them into the fold with specific training for administration, and it's specifically around best practices, which we are a state who believes in the power of high-quality instructional material. So we are really focusing on getting teachers those high-quality instructional materials, training them on the utilization of those materials, and then quite honestly tracking to make sure that they are not relying on fragmented supplemental resources. They are teaching the HQIM to fidelity. Next slide. Educators are also supported in using kindergarten readiness data and other assessment data to guide meaningful and targeted instruction. We want them to use that data to target the instruction that they deliver in their classroom. And then family engagement remains central to this work. With parent workshops that we host, we also produce user-friendly resources for parents so that they understand the importance of this universal screener data and what we are doing there at school to ensure their students' growth. We are also leveraging state funds to not only expand our pre-K access, because we want all children to have access to pre-K programs, and also enhance our coaching supports in pre-K as well as literacy in K-3. Next slide. As well, we are using our screeners and structured, what we call a structured transition plan to identify students' needs, as well as ensure that they have a smooth transition from a pre-K program to kindergarten and beyond. And that goes back to that coherence, making sure that what we're teaching students in pre-K align with what they do in kindergarten, and that there is communication when those students transition from pre-K into kindergarten. And as Dr. Evans mentioned earlier, we have requested an adolescent literacy initiative. That's something we want to pursue in the 26-27 school year. And that transition will be equally as important from that 3rd grade to that 4th grade, which we define in that effort as adolescence. And that's kind of where we are right now and how we hope to pursue and continue to grow. So we'll take any questions at this time.
Anybody have any questions on this? Hearing none. Thank you. Appreciate that.
Thank you.
right, our next item is an action item, for the approval of the A through F performance level cuts for schools and district as established by the Mississippi Statewide Accountability System.
So finally, we have a recommendation for the board for the new standards for the statewide accountability system. I won't go into too much detail about the process because that is outlined in the report that Alan will provide. But as you know, we've been having this discussion quite some time since we have exceeded 65% of our districts and schools that are rated an A and a B as outlined in state law. So we are required to reset those standards. We worked through the accountability task force and then had a great group committee that was together and spent time setting the standards. So Alan will provide more detail on the process, but we did have a commission meeting on Tuesday morning, and this item was presented to the commission and unanimously approved to move forward to the state board as a recommendation. And in your backup material, you would have received a memo from the Center for Assessment, who led the official standard setting process. So that will outline in greater detail what Alan will highlight and describe for you, but we'll be happy to answer any questions at the conclusion about the process.
Yeah, I think we all know the importance of accountability and having a strong assessment and accountability system and how that helps to drive the work of the agency and the improvement of student performance. Just a little bit of background on where we got to where we are. So Mississippi Code requires that we reset these standards once 65% of schools or districts are earning a B or higher, which we did reach in 2023. We started the discussions then. We recognized also that we had some impact still from the pandemic that was reflected in accountability, primarily around growth. And as you know, we saw this year assessment results showed kind of a leveling off of that growth pattern and increases in proficiency. And so we saw a slight dip back below that threshold of 65%, but we have committed to continue with the standard setting process that we started in January of 2025. So we started with discussions with the task force about how we would go about establishing standards. We got preliminary data on accountability in August of 25 and started working with that data to help guide the standard setting process. Our first standard setting meeting was September the 9th. And I'll talk through, what they did in that meeting relative to the October 13th meeting shortly. But we released accountability results at the end of September, and we used that data to run impact for standard setting in October. We had a goal to publish accountability cuts to schools and districts by the end of October, which we did put them out there with the understanding that they're not official until adopted by the commission and the board. And then the next step will be to run 24-25 data with the new accountability standards so that schools and districts will know where they would have been with the new cuts, just as a planning exercise. Okay, so a little bit of overview of the process and what the standard setting committee did. When we're establishing performance standards, we're trying to answer the question, what is good enough to achieve a designated score or rating? In this case, there are A through F summative ratings that we use. And then we operationalize that as a cut score or a composite score that accountability results produces for each school and district, and what is minimally acceptable for the letter grade relative to those composite scores. So a couple approaches that were discussed initially with the task force to inform standards is whether we do a norm referenced approach or criterion referenced approach, so more like a profile approach, or is it some combination of the two? And the recommendation was that we did a combination of the two or a hybrid approach. Last time we did standard setting in 2016, we used a norm referenced approach, and you'll know that in accountability standards, there's a section that outlines a certain percentage of schools will get an A rating, a certain percentage of districts. That was approached in 2016. This time we did more of a hybrid approach, and the guidance was to the committee that we would establish performance level descriptors, and that would guide the standard setting process. But just as a little bit more on the standard setting process, there's as this says, a strong tradition of standard setting. Most people are familiar with it being around assessment, but we can apply that also to accountability, which is what we did. We want standard setting to reflect policy priorities for the state, and then we want them to be informed by judgments from a group of experts. So that was our standard setting committee. It was made up of members of the legislature, local superintendents, representatives from districts that work in accountability and assessment. We had a representative from the commission and a representative from the board, Mr. Glenn East, who served on the committee. And then we want to make sure that the process is well documented and that it is transparent, and that the standards are strongly linked to the process of standard setting. So the first meeting, September the 9th, the committee met to develop the performance level descriptors that would be used to guide how they establish the cuts for the different summative ratings. And there was a process you'll see in that little graphic down there at the bottom that the group went through, where they would have group discussion. They would independently fill out forms with their feedback, and then they would review the results in the aggregate, and then again have group discussion and go through this process until we came to a consensus where we weren't seeing major changes in the results after each round. And then we knew we had consensus around this performance level descriptors. In October, the group met again to use the impact data from the accountability results and to match those performance level descriptors to those school profiles that they review independently, and again, through this process to reach consensus on those cuts. And then the final piece was the memo that you have is back up from the Center for Assessment. So I want to talk about what are the performance level descriptors. These are used to describe or provide meaning and context behind accountability grades. So this is one of the requests that we had as part of the standard setting process, is that we have a clearly defined meaning behind what it is to be an A, what it is to be a B, so on. And so each performance level descriptor will depict that common representation of school performance that corresponds to the letter grade. So this is the PLDs, and this, I believe this was in the backup. So just briefly, an A recognizes an exemplary school in which students are generally exhibiting high rates of proficiency and high rates of growth, and have high performance in the low 25 group, their lowest performing students. A B gives consideration for whether a school has high rates of proficiency or high rates of growth, including the low 25. They typically perform a moderate to high level. A C school is a school that is meeting expectations. This is a school that has students that have moderate rates of proficiency or moderate rates of growth for all students in the low 25. These schools exhibit moderate performance across indicators. And a D school exhibits unsatisfactory performance, is below the state's expectations. Students have low rates of proficiency or low rates of growth for all students, but do not have any indicators who are considered very low. So this just shows an example of school profiles, made up names, but actual profile data from our schools that the standard setting committee would have looked at to make a determination on what the letter grades would have been for these schools relative to their composite score. So in general, the school on the left that you see there would be considered a B school, and the one on the right would be considered a C school. But that's just the process that they went through. They reviewed many, many profiles. It took some time. They had a tool that they used during this process that gave live data, impact data based on their selection. So if you're looking at the school profiles and you realize that you're at a cut point, they could enter in that cut point into these to this table, and it would show the distribution of schools or districts, depending on what they were looking at, the count and the percentage, so that they were able to make informed decisions around those cuts. And this is the final recommendation for the cuts that was achieved by the Standard Setting Committee after a couple of rounds of review. And then I think this chart provides a little bit more information because we can compare to the prior cuts, and you can see the distribution or the percentage of schools in each of those categories from the old cuts to the new cuts. Do we have any questions about the standard setting process?
I don't have a question, but I think we do need to know that we started a journey 10, 12 years ago, and I remember superintendents and teachers full panic mode, Mr. Mayo, full panic mode. And then we got to where we are on this journey. The shift from the Mississippi Miracle name to the Mississippi Marathon name, I think, is important. I do not run marathons. You can look at me and tell that. My wife does, and I have a brother that does, and they will tell you about mile 23. The bear jumps on your back no matter how much training you've put in. And so for us to move forward as a state, this increase in proficiency, I think, is tremendously important. And I think 10 or 12 years ago, we shortchanged the students and teachers in the state and said we couldn't do it, and we did. So let's not shortchange them this go around. Let's move forward and make this happen. I will say that there is some data out there about states that have chosen not to increase at this point, and their data continues not to rise but to fall. So I think this was a great work from the group. I know I was on the committee, and it was a very well-run piece, a lot of opinions. But at the end of the day, this is what is best to move our children forward, and proficiency has to go up in our state to continue to get through, I guess, the next marathon and move forward. So thank you, staff, for the work that you've done, and, of course, the people on the committee as well. So.
I could add one additional thing. These efforts are being applauded nationally because we are continuing to, if you will, double down on our expectations. And I will say something that confirmed something that you said, Mr. Reese, was I asked the vast majority of everyone on that committee that did that, I said, was this process defensible? Was it done appropriately? And you feel as though we set you as a group. The MDE was only an observer. We did not take an active role. I said, do you think that these goals are attainable? With the understanding that when we achieve them, we'll come back and raise those expectations again. They all said yes. So that said a lot to me because that was on purpose. That was a very strong-willed group of people in there. Some that would be on all sides of it and some that would be in the middle. And I would like to report out that it was I thought it was going to be much more contentious than it was, but it was, in the end, everybody had the same goal as, and to Mr. Reese's point, marathons take time, and to continue that, we have to raise those expectations. And also, you see nationally, like you see this, we are at a point where many, many states have been in the past. We're at that pivotal point as to if we did not increase expectations, we would potentially start going the wrong direction. So I just want to personally applaud the efforts and the determination of all the educators in the state of Mississippi. And this is just evident of how Mississippians are. You put a goal in front of us and we achieve it. We and then we reset another one. So I felt compelled to say that. Thank you.
Any other questions or comments? So do I have a motion to approve the recommendations for the increase in cut scores for schools and districts established by the Mississippi State Accountability System effective with the 2025-2026 school year? Do I have a second? Jacobs. All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Thank you very much, and thank you for everybody on that committee that worked hard to get to this point. Okay. We have one contract for us, Ms. Wiggins.
Good morning. As Chairman Miller has indicated, there's one contract I'm bringing before the board this morning, and it is a contract to award to Civic Solutions Group. This company will be providing support and services to the Department of Education in support of its school-based administrative claiming support and nurses database software platform.
Anyone have any questions about this contract? Do I have a motion to approve this contract, which is item 5A on our agenda?
So moved.
Second. Thank you, Dr. Barrett. All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Okay, and then we have two grant items, Ms.
Yes, sir.
Wiggins.
So there are two grants. The first grant is to award competitive grants to Cohort 9 in support of the Nita M. Lowry 21st Century Community Learning Centers program. They are four-year grants with a four-year total of $23.9 million. And there are 15 public and private entities awarded grants under this particular cohort.
Go ahead with the second
Okay,
one.
second
'cause
one.
we'll do both at the same
Alrighty,
time.
so the second one actually provides renewals for grants awarded, and there are 6 public-private entities included in this particular cohort, and there are four-year terms as well, with a total of $4.5 million awarded under this particular cohort.
Does anyone have any questions about these two grant items, 6A and 6B on our agenda? Do I have a motion to approve both of these items?
So moved.
Do I have a second? Thank you. All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Very good. Thank you, Ms. Wiggins. Now, our consent agenda items 7A through N. Do I have a motion to approve these items?
Second.
All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Okay. Okay. Do I have a motion for consideration of an executive session?
Chairman, I move the board consider making a closed determination of the need to go into executive session.
Do I have a second?
Second.
All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? All right, it passes. Let's see. If everybody would clear the room for us, please.
Crosby, if you will sign off now.
We're using Magic School AI.
In Chat Gulfport, man, we own that.
Huh?
Nice try.
All right, the board voted unanimously to go into executive session for the following 3 reasons. 1, discussion and/or deliberations for a strategy session or negotiations with regards to prospective litigation involving the MDE or the issuance of an appealable order in accordance with Mississippi Code annotated 2541-7-4B related to the appeal of the decision of the Licensure Commission filed by Gwen Rice, educator license number 2370096. Number 2, discussion of discrete personnel matters regarding the employment or job performance in the districts of transformation in accordance with Mississippi Code annotated section 2541-7-4A and K. And number 3, discussion with respect to investigative proceedings regarding allegations of misconduct or violations of a law in accordance with Mississippi Code annotated 2541-7-4D, specifically related to the school district's violation of state and federal law regarding financial audits and process standard 4.
I hope I summed up our position.
It's not in the district, not.
Okay. During executive session, the action taken by the board was to grant a motion to dismiss the appeal by Ms. Rice related to education license number 237096. Does anybody have any reports on any meetings attended?
Just want to remind everybody, December 17th, we've got our training
Yes.
at this meeting before I.
The date. Okay, does anybody need the approval to attend any meetings? And I need to, I don't know if I can do this, lawyer, but I need to retroactively ask for approval for that meeting I attended for USM because I got the invite to that in between meetings. Can I do that? Okay. I would like, just so we have it clear, I'm requesting approval to attend the meeting at USM for the MCARES presentation that was on Tuesday in Long Beach.
I'll second the motion.
Okay. All in favor? All right, thank y'all. Any other business? Okay. The State Board of Education will attend the National Association of State Board of Education training and conduct an SBE work session on Wednesday, December 17th, here in this boardroom, starting at 9 a.m. And then our regularly scheduled December meeting will be held on December 18th, 2025, starting at 10 a.m. in this boardroom. Do I have a motion to adjourn?
So moved.
Second.
Second.
All in favor? All right, it passes. Thank y'all.